Hi, everybody. It's Elektra Yao, artist visa lawyer located in New York City, the capital of the arts world. If you are interested in your O1 visa, you are in the right place to gather information and to learn more about this very complex journey to come work in the US. So, today we're going to talk about RFEs, and I want to talk about a very generalized idea about RFEs. Are they normal? Is it normal to expect an RFE when you're working on your O1 petition? Now, I think the practical answer is yes, it is normal to expect an RFE on your petition. The philosophical answer is also, unfortunately, yes. You should be prepared to receive an RFE. Now, in terms of the preparation of the underlying petition, you need to make sure that everything is very tight. You need to make sure that your I's are dotted and that your T's are crossed. Now, even if you prepare such an important, time consuming, complex petition, should you still be expecting an RFE? Absolutely. Nobody is immune to the analytical deficiencies and the error making of a USCIS officer. Now, again, I'm talking about cases that were properly filed and properly argued. Now, sometimes clients will work with attorneys that don't have a lot of experience with RFE with O1s, and they might get an approval. Great. They might get an RFE. Great. I'm not talking about the underlying deficiencies of the petition. I'm just talking about should you expect an RFE if you file a strong case? And the answer is yes. And the answer is yes for a couple of reasons. Now, number one, it is critical that you understand the audience for which you're arguing your petition. Your audience is that of a non attorney, your audience is that of a non artist who is not an expert in your given field. And rightfully so. The O1 visa is for all different types of artists and creatives, and therefore it is unreasonable to expect the officer to be a expert in theater or an expert in graphic design or an expert in architecture. It's just not possible. An officer is not an expert in all those different fields, and neither is a regular individual or even an artist in general, right? So you have to, number one, understand your audience. Now, because of the lack of knowledge in the law and in the arts, there's bound to be misinterpretation, poor application, and just straight up ignoring the facts. It's going to happen. It is a normal part of the process. And number two, why should you be expecting an RFE? You should be expecting an RFE because these are lots of documents to be scrutinized. There are 6 regulatory criteria for the O1. Most of the time in our firm, I would say a good 90% of the time, we are arguing for criteria, which means that we are arguing lead role for distinguished events or productions, critical role for distinguished organizations. We're arguing press. We're arguing awards if our client has awards. We're arguing testimonial letters. These are 8 testimonial letters that we draft. Our testimonials are 3 pages long, sometimes even 4. This is a lot of information to digest. And even a regular individual, a non-officer, it takes time to internalize and think and analyze that information and make sure that you are creating the bridges. Now, if you're filing your case premium processing, right, you're going to probably most likely get an RFE just because there's not a lot of time for the review of that case. It's 3 weeks, right? So it's 5 business days. It's, well, 5 business days per week, but it's 3 weeks where you're expecting the officer to really analyze properly the case. Now, with the changes going on with the service centers, with the fees, with the rejections, it's probably much stronger approach to your O1 journey to think about filing your case sooner rather than later, because all of these changes with regards to the fees, with the service centers, even with the new adopted definition of art, right? USCIS has now adopted the Department of Labor's definition of what art is. There's bound to be inconsistencies. There's bound to be lack of clarity. In fact, USCIS issued guidance 2 weeks ago, instructing attorneys on how to properly answer the immigration forms because of the change. The new immigration forms are so poorly drafted that even attorneys are do not have clarity, right, in how to approach these new forms. So the lack of clarity, the inconsistency, even amongst officers, the misapplication of the law is bound to cause unnecessary delay in your petition. So because of that, because of all of those factors, right, because of the inconsistencies, the lack of clarity, the major changes, the complexity of the petition, the complexity of the profession, right? Not everybody has a clear cut profession. Some people right now, I'm working on, a designer, and a designer who doesn't do traditional design uses code to design, right? I'm working on an architect who works in the real estate sphere, so her work is very closely tied to business. These are not very clear cut artistic and creative professions. They are artistic and creative, but it's not as clear cut as a singer, for example. So it's very important to give yourself grace and give yourself time and preparation. So that means to anticipate potential errors that can be made and anticipate issues that are for you a non-issue, but for the officer an issue. So to get back to our question, are RFEs normal? Yes. Are they more normal now than maybe 5 years ago? Yes. That's the unfortunate truth. And the best way to handle this normalcy of RFEs is to be very prepared in terms of time, right? In terms of how long you're going to take to prep the case, and then when you're filing it, how close is it to your filing date, et cetera, et cetera. So be prepared with the filing, and then be prepared with the attorney that is representing you. You want to make sure that you're working with somebody who has experience, working with somebody who is staying up to date on USCIS and O1 trends, an attorney that is a member of AILA. These are all factors that can minimize the probability or the possibility of getting an RFE. But are RFEs normal? Yes. It's the growing pain of securing the O1. So probably not the answer that you wanted to hear, but both on a practical, from a practical point of view and a philosophical point of view, you should absolutely normalize getting RFEs. The normalizing of RFEs, however, should not detract from the intense, diligent, and efficient preparation of the underlying petition. Hopefully this was very helpful for you. I love talking about O1s and EB1As and EB2s, and I look forward to talking to you tomorrow about advisory opinions. Advisory opinions are a technical aspect of the O1 that seem to be very confusing. So I'm very excited to talk to you guys about this tomorrow. So thank you everybody for watching. Comment below or send me a message, a text message, an email about any topics that you want to explore together on the live. Thanks so much for tuning in.